"She's dying, Mr. Romano." The words hit Jack Romano like a sledgehammer to the chest as he stormed through the sterile corridors of Mount Sinai Hospital, his Italian leather shoes echoing against the polished floors. 10 years, 10 goddamn years he'd been building the Romano Empire across 3 continents. And now his 21-year-old daughter lay dying while he'd been playing chess with European crime families. "How long does she have?" Jack's voice was steel wrapped in velvet as he faced Dr. Peterson, the lead physician, whose nervous fidgeting told him everything he needed to know about his reputation preceding him. Without the right treatment, days, maybe a week. Jack's tattooed hands clenched into fists, the intricate sleeve of ink covering his right arm, a masterpiece depicting his rise from the streets of Brooklyn to the penthouses of Manhattan, seemed to pulse with his rage. Then find the right treatment. "Sir, the condition is extremely rare. We've consulted with specialists across the country, but money is no object." Jack's amber eyes, the same shade as his daughter Sophia's, burned with determination. "I want every specialist, every expert, every medical miracle money can buy in this room by tomorrow morning." Behind him, his Lieutenant Marcus cleared his throat softly. "Boss, there might be someone." Before Dr. Peterson could respond, Jack grabbed the doctor by his pristine white coat. "My daughter has been fighting for her life while I've been negotiating arms deals in Sicily. That ends now, you understand me? But now, let me pause our story for just a moment. If you're following this journey with Jack and want to discover what happens next, please subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from tonight? Your support means everything and helps us bring you more gripping stories like this one. Now let's continue with Jack's desperate fight to save his daughter. The hospital room where Sophia lay was a testament to Jack's guilt and desperation. Every possible medical device money could procure surrounded her bed, yet she looked smaller than ever beneath the tangle of tubes and wires. Her once vibrant dark hair lay limp against the pillow, and her olive skin had taken on an unhealthy pallor that made Jack's chest tight with fear. "Papa?" Her voice was barely a whisper when she saw him enter. Jack's carefully constructed facade crumbled as he took her hand in his massive, calloused palm. "I'm here, Principessa. I'm not going anywhere." Sophia managed a weak smile. "You came back. Nothing in this world could keep me away from you." The truth of those words shattered something inside him. For a decade, he'd convinced himself that building an empire was building a legacy for her. But what legacy mattered if she wasn't alive to inherit it? "The doctors say there's a specialist coming," Sophia whispered. "Dr. Vanessa Chen. She's supposed to be brilliant." Jack kissed her forehead, breathing in the familiar scent of her vanilla perfume mixed with hospital antiseptic. "Then she better be a goddamn miracle worker." As if summoned by his words, a knock came at the door. Dr. Peterson entered, followed by a woman who made Jack forget how to breathe. Dr. Vanessa Chen was stunning in a way that had nothing to do with her appearance, though her dark hair pulled back in a professional bun and intelligent brown eyes certainly didn't hurt. It was the confidence in her stride, the way she commanded the room despite being a foot shorter than Jack, that struck him speechless. "Mr. Romano, I presume?" Her voice carried a slight accent he couldn't place. "I'm Dr. Chen. I've reviewed your daughter's case extensively." Jack stood slowly, his 6'3" frame towering over her, but somehow she didn't seem intimidated. "Can you save her?" "Dr." Chen moved to Sophia's bedside, her manner gentle but professional as she examined the charts. "Your daughter has Erdheim-Chester disease, an extremely rare form of non-Langerhans cell histiocytosis. It's aggressive, but not hopeless." "Not hopeless?" Jack's voice cracked despite his attempt to remain stoic. "I've successfully treated 12 cases in the past 5 years. The key is aggressive immunotherapy, combined with targeted molecular therapy. It won't be easy, and there are no guarantees, but..." She met his eyes directly, and Jack felt something shift in his chest. "I believe we can save her life." For the first time in 10 years, Jack Romano, a man who commanded fear from Chicago to Naples, felt hope. San, Dr. Vanessa Chen, had dealt with powerful men before. Hospital board members, pharmaceutical executives, even a few politicians whose names made headlines, but none of them had prepared her for the intensity of Jack Romano's presence. She'd researched him after receiving the urgent consultation request, enough to know he was dangerous, wealthy, and apparently devoted to his dying daughter. "The treatment protocol is complex," Vanessa explained, pulling up Sophia's scans on her tablet. We'll need to start with a combination of vemurafenib and cobimetinib, followed by interferon alpha therapy. The side effects can be severe. Jack's attention was completely focused on her every word, she noticed. His amber eyes, striking and intelligent, despite the reputation that preceded him, never wavered from her face. What kind of side effects? Fatigue, nausea, potential organ complications. Sophia will feel worse before she feels better. Vanessa turned to the young woman in the bed. But based on your test results, I believe your body can handle the treatment. Sophia squeezed her father's hand. I want to try, Papa. Then we try. Jack's voice was firm. Whatever it costs, whatever it takes. Vanessa nodded, making notes on Sophia's chart. I'll need to stay in New York for the duration of the treatment, probably 6 to 8 weeks. My usual hospital arrangements. Stay at the penthouse. The offer came out more abruptly than Jack intended. I have a medical suite there, and it's 10 minutes from the hospital. You'll have everything you need. Dr. Peterson's eyebrows shot up, but Vanessa maintained her professional composure. That's very generous, but not necessary. The hospital has bureaucracy and limited resources. Jack stepped closer, and Vanessa caught the scent of expensive cologne mixed with something uniquely masculine. My daughter's life is in your hands, Dr. Chen. I want you to have every advantage possible. There was something in his tone, vulnerability beneath the command, that made Vanessa reconsider. She'd seen desperate parents before, but there was something different about Jack Romano. The way he looked at Sophia, the careful tenderness in how he touched her hand, spoke of a love that transcended his dangerous reputation. I'll consider it, she said finally. First, let's focus on beginning treatment. The next 3 hours were a whirlwind of medical preparation. Vanessa coordinated with the nursing staff, reviewed Sophia's medical history in detail, and began the first phase of treatment. Through it all, Jack remained by his daughter's side, a constant presence who somehow managed to stay out of the way while making it clear he wasn't leaving. You don't have to stay, Vanessa said as evening approached. Sophia will sleep through most of the night, and the nurses will monitor her closely. Jack shook his head. I've missed too many nights already. Something in his tone made Vanessa pause. How long were you away? 10 years. The admission came quietly. Building something I thought would matter. Turns out the only thing that matters was already here. Vanessa studied his profile as he watched Sophia sleep. The harsh lines of his face softened when he looked at his daughter, revealing glimpses of the man beneath the reputation. She'd read the newspaper articles, the speculation about his business dealings, but seeing him here changed her perspective. She talks about you constantly, Vanessa offered. Even in her delirium, she asks for her papa. Jack's jaw tightened. I have a lot to make up for. The fact that you're here now means everything to her. Vanessa moved closer to the bed, checking Sophia's IV. Love isn't measured in time, Mr. Romano. It's measured in moments like this. When Jack looked up at her, Vanessa felt something flutter in her chest, an awareness that had nothing to do with their professional relationship. His gaze held hers for a moment too long, and she was the first to look away. I should go check on my other patients, she said, gathering her charts. Dr. Chen. Jack's voice stopped her at the door. Thank you for giving us hope. Vanessa nodded, not trusting herself to speak. As she walked down the hallway, she tried to shake off the effect Jack Romano was having on her. She was a professional, a doctor who'd sworn to do no harm. Getting personally involved with a patient's family, especially a family like the Romanos, was dangerous territory. But as she reviewed Sophia's treatment plan in her office later that night, Vanessa couldn't stop thinking about the way Jack had looked when he'd admitted to missing 10 years of his daughter's life. Behind the dangerous exterior was a father drowning in regret, and despite every rational thought telling her to maintain professional distance, she found herself wanting to help him heal too. The Romano penthouse occupied the top 3 floors of a Manhattan skyscraper, its floor-to-ceiling windows offering a view of Central Park that probably cost more than most people's houses. Vanessa stood in the guest suite Jack had prepared for her, trying to process the surreal turn her life had taken. Is everything satisfactory, Dr. Chen? Marcus, Jack's lieutenant, stood respectfully in the doorway. Despite his intimidating presence, he'd been nothing but courteous since picking her up from the hospital. It's beautiful, thank you. And it was. The suite was larger than her apartment, decorated with understated elegance, and equipped with a state-of-the-art computer system for her research needs. Where is Mr. Romano? Still at the hospital. He hasn't left Sophia's side since yesterday. Vanessa frowned. He needs to rest. Exhaustion won't help anyone. Marcus's smile was grim. You're welcome to try convincing him. 20 years working for the man, and I've never seen him like this. After Marcus left, Vanessa unpacked her few belongings and tried to focus on Sophia's treatment protocols, but her mind kept wandering to the image of Jack slumped in the uncomfortable hospital chair, his expensive suit wrinkled from sleeping upright, stubble darkening his jaw. The contrast between his fearsome reputation and his tender devotion to Sophia was unsettling in ways Vanessa didn't want to examine. Her phone buzzed with a text from her best friend Sarah. Saw the news about you taking a consultation in NYC. You okay? Vanessa stared at the message, wondering how to explain that she'd somehow ended up living in a Mafia boss's penthouse while treating his daughter for a rare disease. It's complicated, seemed like an understatement. Around midnight, she heard the elevator chime and recognized Jack's voice in the foyer. Against her better judgment, she slipped out of her room and found him in the kitchen, tie discarded, shirt sleeves rolled up, staring at an untouched cup of coffee. You should be sleeping, she said softly. Jack looked up, and Vanessa's breath caught. Without the armor of his perfectly pressed suits and commanding presence, he looked younger, more vulnerable. The tattoos on his forearms were visible now, intricate artwork that told stories she didn't understand, but found herself wanting to decode. So should you. His voice was rough with fatigue. How's Sophia tonight? Responding well to the first treatment. Better than I expected. Actually, Vanessa moved closer, noting the tension in his shoulders. When was the last time you ate something? Jack gestured vaguely at the coffee. This counts. That's caffeine, not nutrition. Before she could stop herself, Vanessa found herself opening the massive refrigerator. Let me make you something. You don't need to. I'm not doing it as your employee, she interrupted, pulling out eggs and vegetables. I'm doing it as someone who understands that you can't take care of Sophia if you don't take care of yourself. Jack watched her move around his kitchen with surprising efficiency, her movements graceful despite the late hour. You cook? Medical school doesn't leave much time for restaurants. Vanessa cracked eggs into a pan, adding herbs she found in his surprisingly well-stocked spice cabinet. Plus, my grandmother insisted I learn, said a woman who couldn't feed herself couldn't feed anyone else's soul. Smart woman. She was. Vanessa plated the omelette and set it in front of Jack. She would have liked Sophia. Strong spirits recognize each other. Jack took a bite and closed his eyes briefly. This is incredible. It's just eggs. No, it's not. His amber eyes met hers across the kitchen island. It's the first thing that's tasted like anything since I got the call about Sophia. The intimacy of the moment struck Vanessa suddenly. The quiet kitchen, the soft lighting, the way Jack was looking at her like she'd just performed a miracle. She should step back, maintain professional distance, remember all the reasons this was dangerous. Instead, she found herself asking, "What were you doing when you got the call?" Jack's expression darkened. Closing a deal in Rome, expanding Romano interests into European shipping. He laughed bitterly. I was so proud of myself, building an empire while my daughter was dying. You couldn't have known. I should have been here. His hands clenched on the counter. 10 years, Vanessa. 10 years I chose business over being a father. The use of her first name sent warmth spreading through her chest. You're here now. Is it enough? The question came out raw, vulnerable. Can someone like me learn to be the father she deserves? Vanessa studied his face, the strong jawline, the intelligence in his eyes, the way his mouth curved with both strength and gentleness. Sophia loves you completely. That's not something you earn, Jack. It's something you accept. When he looked up at her, something shifted between them. The air grew thick with possibility, and Vanessa felt herself leaning closer before catching herself. I should let you get some rest, she said quickly, stepping back. Vanessa. Her name on his lips was soft, questioning. Good night, Jack. As she hurried back to her room, Vanessa's heart raced. She was falling for Jack Romano, and that was the most dangerous diagnosis she'd ever made. The inflammation markers are down 30%, Vanessa announced, reviewing Sophia's latest blood work. It had been a week since she'd moved into the penthouse, a week of watching Jack transform from a man drowning in guilt into a devoted father learning to hope again. Sophia smiled weakly from her hospital bed. Does that mean the treatment is working? It means we're moving in the right direction. Vanessa squeezed the young woman's hand gently. Your body is responding better than I dared hope. Jack, who had taken up permanent residence in the chair beside Sophia's bed, looked up from his phone where he'd been conducting business in hushed tones. How much better? Well enough that I think we can try the next phase of treatment earlier than planned. Vanessa pulled up Sophia's scans on her tablet. See these lesions? They're shrinking. The relief that washed over Jack's face was beautiful to watch. For a moment, the dangerous Mafia boss disappeared entirely, leaving only a father who'd been given a glimpse of his daughter's future. Papa, you should take Dr. Chen to dinner, Sophia said with a mischievous smile that reminded Vanessa how young she really was. To celebrate, Sophia, Jack warned, but there was warmth in his voice. What? You've been living on hospital vending machine food and whatever Marcus brings you, and Dr. Chen has been working 18-hour days. Sophia turned to Vanessa. When was the last time you had a meal that wasn't eaten standing up in a hospital hallway? Vanessa couldn't remember. Actually, the past week had been a blur of medical consultations, treatment adjustments and late-night strategy sessions with Jack about Sophia's care. She'd tried to maintain professional boundaries, but Jack's presence was magnetic in ways that had nothing to do with his reputation. Sophia's right, Jack said quietly. You should eat something besides hospital cafeteria sandwiches. I'm fine. Humor a man who's trying to figure out how to say thank you for saving his daughter's life. The vulnerability in his voice made Vanessa's carefully constructed defenses crumble. One dinner, Jack agreed. 3 hours later, Vanessa found herself in the back of Jack's Mercedes, watching Manhattan's glittering skyline blur past the windows. She'd changed from her clinical attire into a simple black dress and heels, feeling both underdressed and overdressed for whatever this evening would bring. Where are we going? She asked. Somewhere quiet. Jack's presence filled the car's interior, his cologne mixing with the scent of leather seats. Away from hospitals and business calls and everything else. The restaurant Jack chose was intimate and clearly expensive, the kind of place that didn't advertise and probably required reservations months in advance. The hostess greeted Jack by name and led them to a secluded corner table overlooking the Hudson River. This is beautiful, Vanessa murmured, watching boats drift past in the evening light. I wanted to talk to you properly, Jack said, pouring wine from a bottle that had appeared without being ordered. So away from the hospital, away from Sophia's condition, just talk. Vanessa sipped the wine, something red and complex that probably cost more than her monthly rent. What would you like to talk about? You, Jack said simply. I know you're brilliant. I know you're saving my daughter's life, but I don't know anything else about Dr. Vanessa Chen. The way he said her name with that slight roughness in his voice made Vanessa's pulse quicken. There's not much to know. I work too much. I have a cat named Fibonacci, and I haven't been on a date in longer than I care to admit. Why not? Vanessa considered the question while studying Jack's face in the candlelight. The harsh lines she'd noticed when they first met had softened over the past week, and she could see why Sophia adored him. My work is demanding. Most men don't understand why I'd rather spend my evening reading medical journals than watching movies. What about men who understand that your work saves lives? The question hung between them, loaded with possibility. Vanessa took another sip of wine, buying time to think. Those men are usually doctors themselves, and in my experience, 2 physicians in a relationship equals 2 people too busy to have a relationship. Jack leaned forward slightly. What about men who aren't doctors? You mean men who don't understand why I disappear for weeks at a time to treat patients with rare diseases? Who get frustrated when I cancel dinner because someone's daughter is dying? Vanessa met his gaze directly. Those relationships tend to end badly. Even when the man's daughter is the one you're saving? The directness of the question stole Vanessa's breath. Especially then. Why? Because I'm falling for you, she thought but couldn't say. Because every time you look at me like I'm performing miracles, I forget all the reasons this is impossible. Because you're dangerous in ways that have nothing to do with your business and everything to do with how you make me feel. Instead, she said, because mixing personal and professional relationships never ends well. Someone always gets hurt. Jack was quiet for a long moment, swirling the wine in his glass. What if someone's already getting hurt? The question hit Vanessa like a physical blow. She could see the truth in his eyes, that he was struggling with the same attraction, the same impossible situation. Jack, I know this is complicated, he continued. I know my reputation, my world. Everything about me should make you run. But I can't stop thinking about you, Vanessa, about the way you fight for Sophia, the way you made me dinner when you barely knew me, the way you make me want to be a better man." Vanessa's heart hammered against her ribs. "This is exactly what can't happen. Why? Because I'm not good enough for you? Because you're too good for me to risk." The words came out before she could stop them. "Because I care about you more than I should, and caring about people in your world is dangerous." Jack reached across the table, covering her hand with his. "What if I told you I'm trying to change my world?" "What do you mean?" "Sophia's illness. Watching her fight for her life. It's made me realize that everything I've built means nothing if I don't have family to share it with." His thumb traced across her knuckles, sending electricity up her arm. "I want out, Vanessa. Out of the life that kept me away from my daughter for 10 years. The confession hung between them like a bridge neither was sure they should cross. But as Vanessa looked into Jack's amber eyes, she saw something that terrified and thrilled her. The possibility of a future she'd never dared to imagine. As Modrafa, 2 weeks into Sophia's treatment, Vanessa was cautiously optimistic. The young woman's energy had improved dramatically, her appetite had returned, and her latest scans showed continued shrinkage of the lesions. But it was the change in Jack that truly amazed her. "Tell me again why you thought bringing a motorcycle into a hospital room was a good idea," Vanessa asked, watching Sophia's face light up as she examined the miniature Ducati her father had somehow procured. "It's not just any motorcycle," Sophia protested, her voice stronger than it had been since Vanessa arrived. "It's exactly like the one Papa promised to buy me when I turned 25. Jack, who was sprawled in his usual chair beside the bed, grinned. "I figured if the mountain won't come to Muhammad." "You're insane," Vanessa said, but she was smiling. The past few days had shown her a side of Jack she hadn't expected, playful, spontaneous, completely devoted to making Sophia laugh. "What's next? Bringing a pony into the ICU? Don't give him ideas," Sophia warned. "Papa once rented an entire movie theater because I mentioned wanting to see a film." "That was different," Jack protested. "You were 8 and you'd never been to the movies." "Because you were terrified someone would recognize us and cause problems," Sophia said fondly. "You've always been overprotective." Vanessa noticed the slight tightening around Jack's eyes at the mention of his security concerns. It was a reminder of the world he operated in, the dangers that came with his name and reputation. "I had good reasons to be careful," Jack said quietly. "I know, Papa." Sophia reached for his hand. "But I'm glad you're here now." The moment was interrupted by a knock on the door. Marcus entered, his expression serious. "Boss, we have a situation." Jack's demeanor changed instantly, the relaxed father disappearing behind the mask of a man used to handling crises. "What kind of situation?" Marcus glanced at Vanessa and Sophia. "The kind that needs to be discussed privately." Vanessa felt the familiar chill of reality intruding on their bubble of hope and healing. Whatever Jack's business involved, it was catching up with him. "I'll be right back," Jack told Sophia, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "Papa." Sophia caught his arm, her eyes suddenly worried. "You're not leaving again, are you?" The fear in her voice was heartbreaking. Jack cupped her face gently. "I'm not going anywhere, Principessa. This is just business that needs handling." After Jack and Marcus left, Sophia turned to Vanessa. "He's trying to get out, you know." Vanessa busied herself checking Sophia's IV, uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. "That's between you and your father. He's doing it because of you." "Sophia, I'm not stupid." "Dr. Chen, I see the way he looks at you, the way you look at him." Sophia's smile was knowing beyond her years. "Papa's never looked at anyone the way he looks at you." Vanessa sat down heavily in the chair Jack had vacated. "Your father's world is complicated. So is yours. You save people for a living. He protects our family's business interests." Sophia's tone was matter-of-fact. "Maybe not so different." "Very different," Vanessa said firmly. "I took an oath to do no harm. So did he, in his own way. Everything Papa does, he does for family." Before Vanessa could respond, her phone buzzed with an urgent message from the lab. Sophia's latest blood work showed some concerning changes, nothing dangerous, but requiring immediate adjustment to her treatment protocol. For the next hour, Vanessa immersed herself in medical calculations and consultations, pushing thoughts of Jack and his situation to the back of her mind. When Jack finally returned, she was reviewing new medication dosages with the nursing staff. "How is she?" he asked immediately, noting the increased activity around Sophia's bed. "Fine," Vanessa assured him. Her body is processing the medication faster than expected, which means we need to adjust dosages. It's actually a good sign. It means she's getting stronger. Relief flooded Jack's features. For a moment I thought, no setbacks, Vanessa said firmly. Just course corrections. They worked together to explain the changes to Sophia, who took the news with the grace of someone who'd learned early that life required constant adaptation. As evening approached and Sophia drifted off to sleep, Vanessa found herself alone with Jack in the dimly lit room. "Everything handled?" she asked quietly. Jack's jaw tightened. "For now." "Jack." Vanessa moved closer, noting the tension in his shoulders. "Whatever's happening, maybe you should consider—" "Getting out is easier said than done," he interrupted. "There are obligations, loyalties, people depending on decisions I made years ago. People like Sophia? People like Sophia are exactly why I need to be careful about how I handle this transition." Jack rubbed his eyes wearily. "Every move I make affects not just me, but everyone connected to the Romano name." Vanessa studied his profile in the dim light. "Is there anything I can do to help?" Jack turned to look at her, something unreadable in his expression. "You're already doing more than you know." The weight of unspoken words hung between them. Vanessa knew they were approaching a crossroads, not just in Sophia's treatment, but in whatever was building between them. Every rational part of her brain screamed that getting involved with Jack Romano was professional suicide, and possibly literal suicide. But as she watched him adjust Sophia's blanket with infinite tenderness, Vanessa realized she might already be too far gone to turn back. "The scans are remarkable, Doctor. The scans are," Peterson said, reviewing Sophia's latest results with barely concealed amazement. "I've never seen such rapid improvement in a case this advanced." Vanessa felt the familiar surge of satisfaction that came with successful treatment, amplified by the relief radiating from Jack beside her. After 3 weeks of aggressive therapy, Sophia was not just responding, she was thriving. "What does this mean for her prognosis?" Jack asked, his voice carefully controlled. "If she continues responding like this, we're looking at full remission," Vanessa said. "Complete recovery." The silence that followed was profound. Jack sat perfectly still, staring at the scan images as if they might disappear if he moved too quickly. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. "She's going to be okay. She's going to be better than okay," Vanessa confirmed. "With continued monitoring and maintenance therapy, there's no reason Sophia can't live a completely normal life." Jack stood abruptly, crossing to the window that overlooked the hospital parking lot. Vanessa watched his shoulders rise and fall with deep breaths, recognizing the moment when hope transformed into overwhelming relief. "Take your time," Dr. Peterson murmured, slipping quietly from the room. Vanessa approached Jack slowly. "Are you all right?" When he turned to face her, she saw tears tracking down his cheeks, the first time she'd seen him cry since arriving in New York. Without thinking, she reached up to wipe them away, her palm cupping his jaw. "She's going to live," he whispered. "She's going to live," Vanessa confirmed. Jack's arms came around her then, pulling her against him in an embrace that was equal parts gratitude and something deeper. Vanessa allowed herself to sink into his warmth, breathing in his familiar scent, feeling the rapid beat of his heart against her chest. "Thank you," he murmured against her hair. "Thank you for giving me my daughter back." "Jack." Vanessa started to pull away, but his hands framed her face, amber eyes intense. "I know this is complicated," he said. "I know every logical reason why this can't work. But I'm falling in love with you, Vanessa, and I need you to know that before you disappear from our lives." The confession hung between them like a live wire. Vanessa felt her carefully constructed professional walls crumbling completely. "This is exactly what I was afraid of," she whispered. "Why? Because you feel it too?" She did feel it too. Despite every warning bell in her head, despite the impossible complications of his world, despite the professional ethics she'd sworn to uphold, she was falling for Jack Romano just as hard as he claimed to be falling for her. "Because loving you means accepting your world," she said finally. "And I don't know if I can do that." Jack's thumbs traced her cheekbones gently. "What if I told you my world is about to change completely?" Before Vanessa could ask what he meant, Sophia's voice interrupted from the doorway. "Did someone say I'm in remission?" They sprang apart guiltily, but Sophia was grinning despite the IV pole she leaned against for support. "You're supposed to be resting," Vanessa scolded, immediately shifting back into doctor mode. I got tired of waiting for you two to finish making heart eyes at each other and come tell me the good news, Sophia said cheerfully. So, am I going to live to see my 22nd birthday? Jack crossed to his daughter, sweeping her into a careful but exuberant hug. You're going to live to see your 92nd birthday. Sophia laughed, the sound bright and healthy in a way that made Vanessa's chest tight with emotion. Good, because I have plans, starting with planning your wedding to Dr. Chen. Sophia! Both Jack and Vanessa protested simultaneously. What? You think I'm blind? Papa, you've been happier these past 3 weeks than I've seen you in years. And Dr. Chen, you light up every time he walks into a room. Sophia looked between them with the wisdom of someone who'd faced mortality at 21. Life's too short to waste time pretending you don't care about each other. Vanessa felt heat creep up her neck. Your father and I have a professional relationship. Please, Sophia interrupted. Professional relationships don't involve midnight cooking sessions and longing stares when you think no one's watching. Jack cleared his throat. Perhaps we should focus on celebrating your recovery. I am celebrating, Sophia said, by pointing out that the two people I love most in the world are perfect for each other and too stubborn to admit it. Later that evening, after Sophia had been settled back in her room and fallen asleep, Vanessa found herself standing on the hospital roof, looking out over Manhattan's glittering skyline. The cool air helped clear her head after the emotional intensity of the day. Hiding? Jack's voice came from behind her. Thinking, Vanessa replied without turning around. Jack joined her at the railing, close enough that she could feel his warmth but not quite touching. About what Sophia said? About a lot of things. Vanessa glanced at him sideways. What did you mean when you said your world is about to change? Jack was quiet for a long moment. I meant that I'm done, Vanessa. Done with the life that kept me away from Sophia for 10 years. Done with the business that makes loving me dangerous for people like you. And you can just walk away. It's complicated, Jack admitted. But watching my daughter fight for her life while I sat helpless, it clarifies priorities. Nothing matters more than family. Nothing. Vanessa felt something shift inside her chest, hope and fear warring for dominance. What about the obligations you mentioned? The people who depend on you? I'm working on that. Marcus is more than capable of handling day-to-day operations, and there are ways to transition power that protect everyone involved. Jack turned to face her fully. The question is whether you'd be willing to wait while I figure it out. Wait for what? Jack's smile was soft and certain. For me to become the man worthy of Dr. Vanessa Chen. Vanessa stared into his amber eyes, seeing determination and love in equal measure. Against all logic, against every warning voice in her head, she felt herself nodding. One condition, she said. Anything. Sophia's treatment continues as planned. Whatever happens between us, her health comes first. Always, Jack agreed solemnly. As he leaned down to kiss her, Vanessa realized that sometimes the most dangerous thing you could do was also the most necessary. And loving Jack Romano felt both dangerous and inevitable as breathing. The Romano family sends their regards, the man said, setting down a crystal vase filled with white roses on the table in Vanessa's penthouse office. His smile was polite, but his eyes were calculating in a way that made her skin crawl. Vanessa looked up from Sophia's latest lab reports, immediately alert. I'm sorry, who are you? Vincent Castellano. I represent certain business interests that have dealings with Mr. Romano. He settled into the chair across from her desk without being invited. Impressive work you've done with his daughter. Remarkable recovery. Thank you, Vanessa said carefully, her hand moving subtly toward the panic button Jack had insisted on installing. But Sophia's medical information is confidential. Of course, Vincent said smoothly. I wouldn't dream of violating patient privacy. I'm simply here to express our appreciation for your dedication to the Romano family. Something in his tone made Vanessa's stomach clench. I'm not sure I understand. Jack Romano is a valuable business partner, Dr. Chen. His recent decisions have been concerning to some of our mutual associates. Vincent's smile never wavered, but his meaning was crystal clear. We hope his judgment isn't being compromised by personal distractions. The threat was subtle but unmistakable. Vanessa forced herself to remain calm. I think you should leave. I think you should be very careful about the position you're placing yourself in, Vincent countered. Jack may have convinced you he's leaving the business, but debts don't disappear just because someone decides they want a different life. Get out. Vanessa's voice was steady, despite the fear coursing through her veins. Vincent stood leisurely, smoothing his expensive suit. Beautiful flowers. Don't you think? White roses. My grandmother always said they symbolized new beginnings, or endings, depending on your perspective. After he left, Vanessa sat staring at the roses for a long moment before calling Jack. He answered on the first ring. "I just had a visitor," she said without preamble. "Vincent Castellano." The silence on the other end was deafening. "Jack, where are you right now?" His voice was tight with controlled fury. "The penthouse office. He left roses and some very polite threats about your business decisions. Get to the hospital now. Marcus is on his way to escort you." "Jack?" "What?" "Vanessa." The raw fear in his voice stopped her cold. "Please, just get to Sophia. Don't go anywhere alone until I can handle this." 20 minutes later, Vanessa sat beside Sophia's hospital bed, watching the young woman sleep peacefully, while her mind raced with questions and fears. Sophia looked so healthy now, color back in her cheeks, strength returning to her frame. The contrast between her peaceful recovery and the threats swirling around her father felt surreal. "Dr. Chen." Marcus appeared in the doorway, his usually composed demeanor tense. "Boss wants to see you. Sophia will be safe. We have people watching her room." Jack was waiting in a small conference room down the hall, his usually immaculate appearance disheveled. When he saw her, relief flickered across his features before being replaced by something harder. "Are you all right?" he asked immediately, hands running over her shoulders as if checking for injuries. "I'm fine. Shaken, but fine." Vanessa caught his hands in hers. "Jack, what's happening?" Jack's jaw tightened. "Vincent Castellano represents the Torino family. We've had business dealings for years, but lately they've been resistant to changes in our arrangement." "What kind of changes?" "The kind that involve me reducing Romano involvement in certain activities." Jack's voice was carefully controlled. "Activities that have been profitable for multiple families." Vanessa felt cold understanding wash over her. "They don't want you to leave." "Leaving isn't just a personal decision in this world," Jack explained. "It affects territories, agreements, millions of dollars in ongoing business. Some people see my desire to step back as betrayal. And they're threatening me to keep you in line. They're threatening you because they know you matter to me." Jack cupped her face in his hands. "Vanessa, I need you to understand something. I'm not backing down from this. I'm getting out of this life, but it means things are going to get complicated before they get simple." Vanessa stared into his amber eyes, seeing determination mixed with fear. "What does complicated mean?" "It means I need to handle the Torino situation before it escalates. It means there might be more visits like today. It means you're asking me to choose between my safety and being with you," Vanessa finished quietly. Jack's silence was answer enough. Vanessa pulled away from him, walking to the small window that overlooked the hospital parking lot. Below, she could see Marcus's men positioned strategically around the building, a visible reminder of the world Jack operated in. "Sophia asked me yesterday what I was going to do after her treatment ended," Vanessa said softly. "Whether I would stay in New York or go back to my practice in San Francisco." "What did you tell her?" "I told her I hadn't decided." Vanessa turned back to face Jack. "But I had decided. I was going to stay. Because somewhere between that first night when you looked at me like I was Sophia's salvation and this morning when you told me you loved me, I realized I was falling for you too." Hope flickered in Jack's eyes. "And now? Now I'm wondering if loving you means I have to accept that my life will always involve men like Vincent Castellano showing up with beautiful flowers and ugly threats." Jack crossed to her, his expression intense. "No, it doesn't. I'm handling this, Vanessa. The Torino situation, the transition out of the business, all of it. But I need time." "How much time?" "A few weeks? Maybe a month." Vanessa studied his face, seeing the truth he wasn't saying. "And if you can't handle it? If they won't let you leave?" Jack's silence stretched between them like a chasm. "I see," Vanessa said quietly. She looked at the man she'd fallen in love with. Brilliant, dangerous, devoted, and trapped by choices made long before they met. "I need to think about this." "Vanessa, Sophia's treatment is almost complete," she continued. "Maybe it would be better if I finished her care and returned to San Francisco." "Is that what you want?" The question hung in the air between them. What Vanessa wanted was a life with Jack and Sophia that didn't involve looking over her shoulder or wondering if every stranger might be carrying a message from people who saw her as leverage. What she had was a choice between love and safety, and she wasn't sure which one would ultimately save her. Someone Sophia was scheduled for discharge in 3 days, her recovery so complete, it seemed miraculous even to Vanessa. But the joy of her medical success was overshadowed by the tension that had settled over everyone since Vincent Castellanos' visit. "You're leaving, aren't you?" Sophia asked. Watching Vanessa update her final treatment notes, Vanessa looked up from the chart, surprised by the directness. "What makes you say that? Papa's been walking around like someone kicked his dog. Marcus keeps giving you these worried looks. And you've been avoiding being alone with either of them for 2 days." Sophia's brown eyes, so like her father's, were knowing. "Plus, you have that look people get when they're trying to convince themselves they're making the right decision." Vanessa set down her pen, unable to maintain the pretense. "Your father's world is complicated. So you're running away." The bluntness stung. "I'm protecting myself, and possibly protecting your father from having to choose between me and keeping his family safe." Sophia was quiet for a moment, picking at the hospital blanket. "Can I tell you a story?" "Sophia, when I was 16, I fell in love with this boy from school, Tommy Brennan. He was sweet and funny and completely normal, no family connections, no complications, just a regular kid from Queens." Sophia's smile was sad. "Papa hated him." Despite everything, Vanessa found herself curious. Why? Because Papa knew that loving me meant accepting my world, and Tommy wasn't built for it. The security, the whispers, the way people treated me differently when they found out who my father was. Sophia met Vanessa's eyes. Papa was right. Tommy couldn't handle it. He broke up with me after some kids at school started calling me Mafia princess and treating him like he was dangerous by association. I'm sorry. Don't be. Tommy wasn't the right person for me because he couldn't love all of me, including the parts that came with complications. Sophia's voice was gentle but firm. "But you're not Tommy, Dr. Chen." "What do you mean?" "You walked into our world knowing exactly who Papa was. You've seen the security, the business calls, the way people react to our name, and you stayed anyway." Sophia leaned forward slightly. "You fell in love with him not despite his complications, but including them." Vanessa felt something tighten in her chest. That was before people started threatening me. And what did Papa do when that happened? Vanessa thought about Jack's immediate response to Vincent's visit, the panic in his voice, the way he'd ensured she was protected, his determination to handle the situation. "He tried to keep me safe." "Exactly, because that's what family does in our world. We protect each other." Sophia's expression softened. "I know this is scary, but running away now isn't protecting Papa from having to choose between you and his family. You are his family, we both are." Before Vanessa could respond, Jack appeared in the doorway. His face was drawn with exhaustion, but his eyes went immediately to Sophia. "How are you feeling, Principessa?" "Much better, thanks to Dr. Chen." Sophia looked between them meaningfully. "Maybe you two should talk. Privately." Jack's gaze shifted to Vanessa, questioning. "Would you walk with me?" They ended up on the hospital roof again. The city spread out below them in the early evening light. Jack was quiet for a long time, hands braced against the railing. "Vincent won't be bothering you again," he said finally. "What did you do?" "What I should have done years ago." Jack's voice was steady. "I called a meeting with all the family heads, laid out exactly how my transition is going to work, what territories I'm ceding, and how business relationships will be handled going forward. And they agreed? They agreed because I made it clear that threatening you was a line that couldn't be crossed without consequences." Jack turned to face her. "I also made it clear that anyone who has a problem with my decisions has 6 months to adjust their business models accordingly." Vanessa studied his profile. "What does that mean for us?" "It means I'm officially out as of December 31st. Marcus takes over operations. I maintain a consulting role for major decisions, but the day-to-day business that kept me away from Sophia for 10 years ends." "And if the other families don't accept that?" Jack's smile was sharp. "Then they'll learn why people have been afraid of the Romano name for 3 generations. The certainty in his voice was both reassuring and terrifying. "Jack, I know what you're going to say." He moved closer, amber eyes intense. "That this doesn't solve the fundamental problem of my world being dangerous for people I love. And you're right. There will always be risks, always be people who see my family as targets or leverage." Vanessa's heart sank. "So we're back where we started?" "No, we're at the beginning of something new." Jack cupped her face gently. I can't promise you a life without complications, Vanessa. I can't promise that loving me will ever be simple or safe, but I can promise you that I will spend every day for the rest of my life making sure you never regret taking that risk. And if I can't handle it, if 6 months from now I'm still jumping at shadows and looking over my shoulder, then we'll figure it out together. Jack's thumbs traced her cheekbones. But I don't think you're the kind of woman who runs from challenges. You're the kind who faces them head-on and finds solutions. Vanessa closed her eyes, feeling the last of her defenses crumble. This is insane. Probably, Jack agreed. Will you do it anyway? When Vanessa looked into his eyes, she saw not just love, but partnership. The promise that whatever challenges came, they would face them as a team. Sophia will never forgive me if I break your heart, she said finally. Jack's grin was brilliant. Then I guess I'd better make sure you don't want to. As he kissed her under the Manhattan sky, Vanessa realized that sometimes the most dangerous choice was also the only choice that felt like living. Dr. Chen, there's someone here to see you. Vanessa looked up from packing her medical supplies, surprised. Sophia had been discharged that morning to complete her recovery at home, and Vanessa had planned to spend the day organizing her notes before discussing next steps with Jack. The visitor was a woman in her 50s, elegantly dressed, with steel-gray hair and intelligent dark eyes. She carried herself with the kind of confidence that suggested she was accustomed to being taken seriously. Dr. Chen, I'm Catherine Romano, Jack's sister-in-law. She extended a manicured hand. I apologize for arriving unannounced. Vanessa had heard Jack mention his late brother occasionally, but never in detail. Please, sit. How can I help you? Catherine settled into the chair across from Vanessa's desk, her gaze assessing. I wanted to thank you for saving Sophia's life and to discuss your relationship with Jack. The directness caught Vanessa off guard. I'm not sure that's appropriate? Probably not. But Jack's happiness is important to me, and frankly, I'm concerned about the choices he's making. Vanessa felt her defenses rise. What kind of choices? The kind that involve dismantling everything his family built over 3 generations for a woman he's known for 6 weeks. The words hit like a physical blow. I never asked him to change anything about his life. Of course not. You're too smart for that. Catherine's smile was sharp. But you're accepting the changes he's making for you, aren't you? Vanessa stood abruptly, moving to the window. Jack's decision to step back from his business is about Sophia, not me. Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like a man in his mid-40s having a midlife crisis, triggered by a beautiful doctor who saved his daughter's life. You don't know anything about me or my relationship with Jack. I know enough, Catherine said calmly. I know you're brilliant, dedicated, and exactly the kind of woman Jack would see as his salvation. I also know that in 6 months, when the reality of his world truly hits you, you'll leave, and you'll destroy him in the process. Vanessa turned back to face Catherine, anger flaring. You have no right. I have every right. I've been part of this family for 25 years. I've watched what happens when outsiders try to join our world. Catherine's expression softened slightly. It never ends well, Dr. Chen, for anyone involved. Maybe those other women weren't strong enough. Or maybe they were smart enough to recognize an impossible situation when they saw it. Catherine stood, smoothing her skirt. Jack is a good man, but he's also a man who spent his entire adult life making life-and-death decisions for other people. When he decides to leave that life for you, what happens to the people depending on him? What happens to the agreements and alliances that keep peace between families? The questions hit uncomfortably close to Vanessa's own fears. Jack said the transition has been planned carefully. Jack is telling you what you need to hear to stay, Catherine interrupted. But transitions like this take years to implement safely. People who try to rush them end up dead. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. Catherine moved toward the door, then paused. Jack lost 10 years with Sophia because he thought building an empire mattered more than being present for his daughter. Don't let him lose the next 10 years, or his life, because he thinks loving you is more important than protecting his family's legacy. After Catherine left, Vanessa sat in her empty office staring at Sophia's discharge papers. 6 weeks ago, her biggest concern had been whether her patient would respond to treatment. Now she was questioning whether her presence in Jack's life was making him vulnerable to threats she couldn't even comprehend. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jack. Dinner tonight? Sophia wants to cook for you. Fair warning, she inherited my mother's optimism about her culinary skills, but not her talent. The normalcy of the message, The warmth and humor made Vanessa's chest ache. She could picture Sophia in the Romano kitchen, probably ordering her father around while attempting some complicated recipe. Both of them happy and healthy, and building the family bond that 10 years apart had damaged. Was Catherine right? Was Vanessa's acceptance of Jack's love forcing him to make choices that put that family bond at risk? Her phone rang before she could finish spiraling down that thought path. "Vanessa!" Sophia's voice was bright and energetic. "Papa's being ridiculous about dinner. He keeps trying to order takeout because he's convinced I'm going to poison you with my cooking. Can you please tell him that following a recipe isn't brain surgery?" Despite everything, Vanessa smiled. "Put him on the phone. She's been in the kitchen for 2 hours." Jack's voice was warm with amusement. "I've never seen anyone turn making pasta into such a complex operation. She has spreadsheets, Vanessa. Actual spreadsheets for timing different components. She gets that organizational obsession from her father, I'm guessing." "Definitely not from her father. I operate on instinct and backup plans. Sophia operates like she's planning a military campaign." There was a pause. "Everything okay? You sound tired." Vanessa closed her eyes, hearing the concern in his voice. "It's been a long day. I'll see you at dinner." "Vanessa." Jack's tone was gentle but serious. "Whatever's bothering you, we can talk about it tonight. After Sophia goes to bed." The promise in his words that they would face whatever problems arose together made Vanessa's decision feel both simpler and more complex. Because Catherine Romano was right about one thing. Jack was a good man who'd spent his life protecting people he cared about. The question was whether loving Vanessa was protecting his family or endangering them. And Vanessa wasn't sure she was brave enough to hear the answer. Ruiz's dinner at the Romano penthouse was a revelation. Sophia had indeed created a complex operation in the kitchen, complete with color-coded timers and detailed preparation notes. The meal itself, handmade pasta with a sauce that had apparently required 6 hours of simmering, was surprisingly delicious. "This is incredible," Vanessa said, twirling pasta around her fork. "Where did you learn to cook like this?" "YouTube and stubbornness," Sophia replied cheerfully. "Plus, I had a lot of time to practice while Papa was traveling. Mrs. Torino from downstairs used to check on me, but she believed teenagers should know how to feed themselves." Jack's expression tightened slightly at the mention of Sophia's time alone. "Mrs. Torino was a good neighbor." "She was. She also used to tell me stories about you and Uncle Michael when you were kids." Sophia's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Did you really once steal a police car?" "Borrowed," Jack corrected. "And we returned it. After joyriding through Little Italy for 3 hours," Sophia continued, "Mrs. Torino said Nonna made you scrub every floor in the restaurant for a month." Vanessa watched the easy affection between father and daughter, seeing how Sophia's teasing brought out a relaxed, almost boyish side of Jack she'd never witnessed. This was the man he could be when the weight of his responsibilities wasn't crushing him. "I should probably head home," Vanessa said as Sophia began clearing dishes despite both Jack's and her protests. "Let you two enjoy your first evening together without hospital schedules." "Absolutely not," Sophia declared. "Papa, show Dr. Chen the library. I need to call my friend Rachel and tell her about being discharged. She's been worried sick." Jack's eyes met Vanessa's across the table. "Would you like to see the library?" The Romano library was spectacular. Floor-to-ceiling shelves filled with books in multiple languages, comfortable leather chairs positioned near tall windows, and a small fireplace that gave the room warmth despite its size. "It's beautiful," Vanessa murmured, running her fingers along the spine of a medical textbook written in Italian. "Most of these were my father's," Jack said, settling into one of the chairs. "He believed education was the only true power." "Smart man," he was. "He's also the reason I'm having trouble with the transition I promised you." Vanessa turned from the bookshelf, noting the tension in Jack's posture. "What do you mean?" Jack was quiet for a moment, staring into the fireplace. "My father built the Romano organization on the principle that family comes first, always. Every decision, every alliance, every risk was weighed against its impact on family safety and prosperity. That sounds reasonable. It is reasonable. It's also what's making it nearly impossible for me to step back cleanly." Jack met her eyes. "The agreements my father made, the relationships he built, they're not just business contracts, they're survival pacts. Breaking them isn't just about money or territory. It's about trust that's taken decades to establish." Vanessa felt a chill of understanding. "Catherine came to see me today." Jack's expression darkened. "What did she say?" That I was forcing you to make dangerous choices, that transitioning out of your position would take years to do safely, not months. Catherine has always been protective of the family's interests. Is she right? Jack was quiet for so long that Vanessa began to fear the answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was carefully controlled. Rushing the transition creates risks, but staying in that life creates different risks. To you, to Sophia, to any future we might build together. So we're trapped. We're in a complicated situation that requires a careful solution. Vanessa moved to the window, looking out over Manhattan's glittering skyline. Tell me the truth, Jack. All of it. The truth is that Vincent Castellano's visit was just the beginning. There are 3 other families who have significant business relationships with us, and they're not happy about my plans to step back. They see it as destabilizing. How destabilizing? The kind that could lead to territorial disputes, broken alliances and violence. Jack's honesty was brutal. The kind that could get people killed. Vanessa closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the situation crush down on her. So my choice is between walking away from you or being responsible for other people's deaths. Your choice is between trusting me to find a solution or letting fear make our decisions for us. And what if there isn't a solution? What if the only way to keep everyone safe is for you to stay exactly where you are? Jack stood, crossing to stand behind her at the window. Then we'll figure out another way to build the life we want. What does that mean? It means maybe I don't step back completely. Maybe I find a way to maintain necessary relationships while still being present for my family. His hands settled on her shoulders. Maybe we build something new instead of trying to escape something old. Vanessa turned in his arms, studying his face. You're talking about staying in the business. I'm talking about finding a middle ground that keeps everyone safe while giving us the life we want. And you think that's possible? Jack's smile was soft and certain. I think when you love someone the way I love you, you find a way to make the impossible work. As he kissed her, Vanessa realized they were standing at a crossroads where every path forward required faith. Faith in each other, faith in their love, and faith that sometimes the most complicated solutions were also the most lasting ones. But whether that faith would be enough to overcome the realities of Jack's world remained to be seen. The call came at 3 in the morning, jerking Vanessa awake in her penthouse guest room. Jack's voice was tight with controlled fury. Marcus is hurt. We're at Mount Sinai emergency. Vanessa was dressed and in the hospital elevator 12 minutes later, her mind racing through possibilities. She found Jack in the surgical waiting area, his usually perfect appearance disheveled, blood on his shirt. What happened? She asked immediately. Car bomb, meant for me. Jack's voice was flat, emotionless. Marcus pushed me out of the way, took the worst of it. How bad? Bad enough. Jack's hands were clenched into fists. Internal bleeding, possible spinal damage. He's been in surgery for 6 hours. Vanessa looked around the waiting area, noting the positioning of Jack's security team, the way other families' representatives had gathered in carefully neutral corners. This was the Torinos? This was Vincent Castellano sending a message about my timeline for transition. Jack, I know what you're going to say, he interrupted. That this proves your point about my world being too dangerous. That Marcus is lying in that operating room because I was selfish enough to think I could have a normal life. Vanessa studied his profile, seeing the guilt and rage warring in his expression. Is that what you think? I think I've been naive about how much resistance there would be to my plans. Jack finally looked at her. Amber eyes haunted. I think I underestimated how far some people would go to keep the status quo. Before Vanessa could respond, a doctor emerged from the surgical suite. Jack was on his feet instantly. Mr. Romano, I'm Dr. Hamilton. Mr. Torres is stable, but it was touch and go. The internal bleeding is under control, and we've repaired the damage to his spleen and liver. His spine? Bruised but not severed. He'll have some mobility issues initially, but with physical therapy, we expect a full recovery. The relief that washed over Jack's face was profound. Can I see him? He's still unconscious, but yes. Family only for now. As Dr. Hamilton walked away, Jack turned to Vanessa. Come with me. Marcus looked small in the hospital bed, connected to monitors and tubes, his usually alert face slack with medication, but he was breathing steadily, and his color was good. He's been with me for 15 years, Jack said quietly. Since he was 19 years old. He's not just my lieutenant, he's my brother. Vanessa took Jack's hand, feeling the tremor of emotion he was trying to suppress. He's going to be okay. Because he took an explosion meant for me. Because he chose to protect someone he loves. That's what family does. Jack was quiet for a long moment, watching Marcus's monitors. Vanessa, I need you to understand something. What happened tonight? This isn't over. Castellano made his move, and now I have to respond. And my response isn't going to be a negotiation. The cold certainty in Jack's voice made Vanessa's stomach clench. What are you going to do? What I should have done weeks ago. What my father would have done the moment Vincent walked into your office. Jack. Vanessa moved to face him directly. Think about what you're saying. I am thinking. I'm thinking that I tried to handle this transition diplomatically, and Marcus nearly died because of it. I'm thinking that Vincent Castellano just declared war on my family. And you're thinking about fighting that war. I'm thinking about ending it. Jack's expression was harder than she'd ever seen it. Permanently. Vanessa felt the last pieces of her carefully constructed world shift into place with terrifying clarity. This was Jack Romano, the Mafia boss, not Jack Romano, the devoted father or gentle lover. This was the man who'd built and maintained a criminal empire through 3 decades of calculated violence. What does that mean for us? She asked quietly. Jack cupped her face in his hands, thumbs tracing her cheekbones. It means I need you to trust me one more time, to believe that everything I'm about to do is to protect the people I love, including things that might put you in prison or get you killed, including those things. Vanessa stared into his amber eyes, seeing love and determination and a dangerous kind of peace. Jack Romano had made his choice, and it wasn't the choice she'd hoped for. Sophia can't lose you again, she said finally. She won't. You can't promise that. I can promise that I'll do everything in my power to come home to both of you. The qualification in his words, everything in my power, spoke volumes about the risks he was about to take. Vanessa understood that she was standing at another crossroads, this one even more fundamental than the others. She could ask him to choose her over his need for revenge. She could demand that he find another way, even if it meant living with ongoing threats. She could make her love conditional on his restraint. Or she could trust that Jack Romano knew his world better than she did, and that sometimes the only way to protect a family was to eliminate the people threatening it. I love you, she said simply. Jack's expression softened, even when I'm about to do terrible things. Especially then, as he kissed her in the sterile hospital room, with Marcus fighting for his life and war brewing outside, Vanessa realized she'd made her choice. Not just to love Jack Romano despite his world, but to trust him to navigate that world in ways that kept their family safe, even if it meant accepting that some kinds of love required darkness. Papa, you look like you haven't slept in days, Sophia observed as Jack entered the penthouse kitchen 3 weeks after Marcus's surgery. She was right. Jack had the haggard appearance of a man carrying the weight of decisions that would determine his family's future. I've been busy, Principessa, Jack said, pouring coffee with hands that weren't quite steady. Vanessa looked up from her laptop, where she'd been reviewing Sophia's ongoing treatment protocols. The past 3 weeks had been a careful dance of normalcy, punctuated by hushed phone calls, late-night meetings, and an undercurrent of tension that made everyone alert. Marcus is being discharged today, Jack continued. Full recovery, just like you predicted, Dr. Chen. Have you talked to him about stepping into a larger role? Sophia asked innocently. Jack's smile was tired but genuine. Marcus and I have discussed many things. Vanessa knew that was an understatement. Marcus's near-death experience had clarified something for both men, that the Romano family's survival depended not just on Jack's leadership, but on Marcus's capability to handle increased responsibility. There's something I need to tell you both, Jack said, setting down his coffee and focusing on them with unusual intensity. The situation with the Torinos has been resolved. Resolved how? Vanessa asked carefully. Vincent Castellano won't be a problem anymore. Neither will anyone else who thinks they can threaten this family. The quiet certainty in Jack's voice told Vanessa everything she needed to know about what had happened during his sleepless weeks. Part of her didn't want to know the details. Another part understood that Vincent's threats had required a response that left no room for future misunderstanding. And the transition? Sophia asked. Are you still planning to step back? Jack was quiet for a moment, and Vanessa held her breath waiting for his answer. They'd talked about this every night since Marcus's injury, how to balance Jack's desire for a different life with his responsibility to maintain the stability his absence might threaten. I'm stepping back from day-to-day operations, Jack said finally. Marcus will handle most business decisions, but I'm maintaining oversight on major issues and family relationships. So you're semi-retired. Sophia's tone was hopeful. I'm prioritizing differently, Jack corrected. Business will never again come before family, but family includes the people who depend on Romano leadership for their livelihoods and safety. Vanessa felt something settle in her chest, relief mixed with understanding. This wasn't the complete escape they'd originally envisioned, but it was a sustainable solution that protected everyone Jack felt responsible for. There's something else, Jack continued, reaching into his jacket pocket. Vanessa, you've spent 6 weeks saving my daughter's life and another month figuring out whether you could love a man like me. Jack, Vanessa began, but he held up a hand. Let me finish. You've seen my world at its worst. The threats, the violence, the impossible choices. You've seen me at my worst. Desperate, controlling, willing to do terrible things to protect what matters to me. Jack dropped to one knee beside her chair, producing a ring box. But you've also seen our family at its best. The way Sophia lights up when you're around. The way I'm a better man because you challenge me to be one. The way we fit together even when everything else is complicated. Sophia gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. I know this is fast, Jack continued, opening the box to reveal a stunning diamond solitaire. I know my life comes with complications other people don't have to deal with, but I also know that loving you has given me something I didn't think was possible. Hope for a future that includes happiness, along with responsibility. Vanessa stared at the ring, then at Jack's face, seeing love and vulnerability and unwavering determination. Jack, marry me, Vanessa. Not despite the complications, but because we've proven we can handle them together. Because Sophia needs a mother who's strong enough to love our family completely. Because I need a partner who can save lives and see past my reputation to the man I'm trying to become. The proposal was everything Vanessa should have expected from Jack Romano. Direct, intense, and impossible to ignore. But it was also something more. A promise that their love was strong enough to build something lasting from the chaos of the past 6 weeks. Yes, she said simply. Jack's grin was brilliant as he slipped the ring onto her finger. Yes. Yes, you impossible man. Yes, I'll marry you and figure out how to live with your complicated world and love your daughter, and probably argue with you about security protocols for the rest of our lives. Sophia squealed, launching herself at both of them in an embrace that nearly knocked them over. I knew it. I knew from that first day in the hospital that you were perfect for each other. How could you possibly have known that? Vanessa laughed, examining the ring that fit perfectly. Because Papa smiled, Sophia said simply. For the first time in 10 years, he smiled like he remembered what happiness felt like. Later that evening, after Sophia had fallen asleep, planning their engagement party with characteristic organizational enthusiasm, Vanessa and Jack stood on the penthouse balcony, watching the city sparkle below them. Any regrets? Jack asked, arms wrapped around her from behind. About which part? Falling for a Mafia boss, agreeing to marry into a crime family, or moving to New York permanently to plan a wedding with your organizationally obsessed daughter? Any of it. All of it. Vanessa leaned back against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. Ask me again in 50 years. Deal, Jack murmured against her hair. As they watched the city below, Jack's city, now their city, Vanessa realized that sometimes the most important medical procedures weren't the ones performed in operating rooms. Sometimes they were the ones that required opening your heart to possibilities you never imagined, trusting that love could be strong enough to heal even the most complicated wounds. Sophia Romano was living proof that miracles were possible, and their family was living proof that love could transform even the most dangerous circumstances into something beautiful. 6 months later, Dr. Vanessa Chen became Mrs. Vanessa Romano in a ceremony that combined elegance with the kind of security usually reserved for heads of state. Sophia served as maid of honor, Marcus walked Vanessa down the aisle, and Jack cried when he saw his bride. Their love story had begun with a dying daughter and a desperate father, but it had become something neither of them expected, a testament to the healing power of love, the strength of family, and the truth that sometimes the most complicated beginnings lead to the most extraordinary endings. And Sophia Romano, healthy and radiant and surrounded by parents who adored her and each other, was the greatest miracle of all.